This is your first interview since leaving Snap, and I know you have some personal news, which I really want to get to in a minute, but let's jump right in with Snap first, since this is your first one. It's been quite a journey, quite a year for Snap. Shares down nearly 50% this year alone. What happened? Let's start there.
Yeah, look, I think at Snap, Evan and team is really focused on building the business for long term. And when you're trying to build business for long term, there are a lot of ups and downs. And obviously they had some challenges, and that really impacted the share price.
So why leave now? Because it seems like the story is far from over.
Yeah, I joined Snap 4 years ago, and at that time company didn't really have any revenue. Over the last 4 years, in Q3, our run rate revenue was 1.2 billion. So I'm really proud of what we have achieved at Snap, and I really wanted to do something else. Always wanted to build a new business, and I wanted to go try that new thing.
Absolutely, and we're going to get to that very shortly. One other question I want to ask you, though, is there's some reports about Evan Spiegel's attitude towards public markets, that maybe he was a little bit dismissive. You worked with him very closely. Did you see that?
I think Evan wants to build a business that will last for long term, and he's really focused on building a great business for long term.
Right. Do you think he enjoys being a public company CEO?
You have to ask him that question.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let's talk about you, because you used to work for a public company and now you're starting your own venture. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think, I've always been very fascinated by e-commerce. I worked with Alibaba guys for a long period of time. I worked on their IPO and helped them in different financing. Always e-commerce really attracted me. And when I look at e-commerce, it's still so early. I was looking at today, if you look at in Q3, e-commerce was only $130 billion market. It's only 10% of overall retail sales. So there's a tremendous opportunity for new innovation and delight the consumers.
Absolutely, but some very stiff competition in this space as well. You've got Amazon and Walmart battling it out. So why e-commerce? What makes you think that you can get into this market with these two guys sort of building up their businesses, and even though the penetration is still low, they're taking a lot of it?
Right. I think the key thing is the market is so big that not two companies cannot always serve everybody very well. So there is room for opportunities to innovate and service customers different way. And if you look at the markets like China or markets like in other markets, there are more than two players in the e-commerce players. So I think US market can sustain more than two players, and I think I'm really excited to what we can do.
Right, we've been here in China, a lot of talk about Pinduoduo being a competitor to Alibaba, and able to come up really out of nowhere. So you're betting on e-commerce. Snap was a bet on social media. Where do you see the opportunity? Are you leaving Snap because you think that the social media world is difficult, or because you think that there's more opportunity in e-commerce, or both?
No, I think I'm leaving because I always wanted to start my own company. I think 4 years ago when I joined Snap, I was going to start a new company or do something different. But then I met Evan, and I was really impressed by his product vision, and it was a great experience. I learned a lot, and I think what I learned at Snap will prepare me better for future. So I'm excited to do the new thing.
Right, and you're still an investor in Snap. So what do you hope for the company? It has been a really rough year. What would you like to see happen?
Look, I'm a shareholder of Snap. I worked at Snap, and I think internet mobile is such a large opportunity, right? That people are spending more and more time on mobile. And so again, there's a lot of opportunity to innovate. Again, look at China. There's the kind of innovation that's happening. Companies like ByteDance didn't exist a few years ago, and they came along and became a very large company. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for innovation, and I think Snap in the past has done a really good job innovating. So hopefully they will continue to innovate and build great products.
All right, my colleague Sarah has a question for you back in New York.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Imran. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Just to follow on some of those questions about Snap, specifically, how do you view the threat of Instagram stories? And what would you tell investors who are worried that they're just continuing to dominate this space that Snap started?
Yeah, I think both product has, while it has some similarities, also has a lot of differences, right? So for example, Snap opens with a camera, and you basically create your own experience when you open the Snap camera. Whereas Instagram, when you open it, you open to someone else's experience. But I think going back to time spent on mobile devices will continue to grow. And as time spent continues to grow, and companies that will continue to innovate will capture more time shares, and they will grow.
We spoke to Jim Breyer a little bit earlier, and it feels like founder-led companies are under fire these days. We talked to him about Zuckerberg. Spiegel obviously has been having a hard time. How do you view it, having worked for one of them?
I think, founders bring a lot to the table, right? Because they have the moral authority of the company, so they can make things move faster. And I think founders, a lot of time has much bolder vision, and also board and shareholder are much more open to give them more benefit of doubt to take much bolder vision. So they bring a lot to the table, and I think, look, companies like Mark has done a really good job building a very large businesses. Obviously, they have some real challenges now. Jeff Bezos is a founder, and I think a lot of founders have created a lot of values.
Right. Is there a time, though, that founders need to take a step back in the way that listings work now? It's harder for them. And, if Evan Spiegel doesn't want to give up control of the company, or Mark Zuckerberg, they don't have to. Do you think that there needs to be changes there?
I think, look, I think at the end of the day, there is always a potential check and balance that can be created more. And I think, and that's always a good thing. And I think, my experience with all the founders, I don't want to get into any specific situation, they always want to do right for the company, because they put all their time and effort building these businesses. So they always want to do the right thing for the company. And the company that I'm building, I will always want to do the right thing for the company.
Right, and you're going to be a founder now, so we'll ask you this again.